Hello there, this is Dizzy, and it's time to play some Minecraft. So today, I want to get into NuclearCraft, and it's a mod that I've been looking at for a while, and I've read about it, but I've not actually tried it. And I've looked on YouTube, and there's a lot of people who've basically set up basic reactors, but they never, from what I've seen, really taken it much further than that, or if they have, they don't show it. So I want to get into that and see what happens. And I've made a lot of the basic pieces at this point, but I'm not quite sure what's going to happen or how it's going to work. And you have a chance to sort of experience that with me. So I think this might wind up being a couple of different videos. Today, I just want to focus on setting up the fission reactor and then sort of seeing where we go from there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and head over to my workshop. This is a new world, by the way. I had another world going for my previous Dizzy Build series. I really have been using little tiles, which is a really great chisel and bits like mod, but it's much easier to work with in my experience. And you can do these nice sort of detailed textures and stuff, or detailed insets and stuff like that really easily. So I've had a lot of fun building. This is sort of my house, and this is the barn, which is kind of cool. Where's my horse at? That's kind of troubling. And then this is my workshop. So let's go over to the workshop and see what awaits us. So right now I've got power from thermal expansion. I'm just using arboreal extractors, and that's feeding into some steam dynamos and turbines and stuff like that. And it gets about probably 500 RF per tick sometimes, not all the time, sort of depends on availability of rosin and other stuff, but it's not really enough. And one of the things that I've been trying to do sort of before I get into ReactorCraft or NuclearCraft is set up auto crafting for as much as I can, because some of that stuff is painful to craft. So you can see I've got sort of a mixture of thermal expansion and NuclearCraft things, and even some IC2 over here, but I think I've got the basics. So I did a lot of the crafting already because it took days and a lot of resource gathering and stuff. But I've got a fission controller. I've got, I don't know what I'm doing there. I've got 2 reactor cells. I think we might need more, but we can always make more. I've got 56 casings, which should be enough to make the entire reactor. And then I've got 4 empty coolers, and we're going to have to decide what kind of coolers we're going to use. I've got a power cell or energy cell from thermal expansion that I'm going to use to sort of charge, and it's upgraded to hold 8 million RF. And then I've got thorium dust. So one of the challenges with NuclearCraft, if we look at the mod, NuclearCraft, there's a lot of stuff in here, but one of the key pieces is that these things are all fuels, and different fuels have different profiles. So they have how long they run for, how much power they generate, how much heat they generate, and you have to sort of balance that heat so that your reactor can run safely. So it took me a little bit of research to figure out where to start, because some of the tutorials I've seen are like you should start with LEU and HEU, and there's all these different ones. What we're going to do today is TBU, which from what I can tell is the simplest one to manufacture. And TBU fuel is made from thorium, which is and thorium itself is something that you can find in the world. So you run the thorium through an isotope separator and you get 232, and then you assemble those and you'll get 1 pellet of fuel. So let's start there. I created the isotope separator, and I'm going to drop the thorium dust in there. And if I have enough power, actually, let me take the power and upgrade out of this and put it in here for now. That's a little faster, and it's pulling, it's only pulling 15 RF a tick. That's not too bad, actually. Okay, so while that's cooking up, I made enough for 2 fuel pellets, I believe. We need to go ahead and set up the reactor, which there's a lot of tutorials out there on how to do this. So I'm just going to do a 3x3 right here, I think. And then actually, Yeah, we'll just build it on top of the ground. It's okay. Reactor crafts. Let me get some cobble real quick. So reactor craft's kind of interesting in that you have to, the way that the fission reactor is, it's a different kind of multi-block. So you actually have to construct it in a very particular way where the edges are overlapping like this, which, you know, that's fine. It's a little different, but that's all right. I think the corners can't be connected either, so you have to have it like that. And let me fix this one over here. So my hope, basically what I want to do, what I want to get to is I want to have the reactor kick on when I start doing manufacturing stuff. So the rest of the time it's off. Wait, oh, that can't be on. So most of the time it's off. And then when we actually start manufacturing, that's when we turn it on. And I should, if I did this right, have enough for a 3x3x3. But we will find out. Yeah, looks like I have just enough. Except I don't. Let's do this here. Oh, wait, no. These are different. This one. Okay, so right. So this is going to be like this. Okay, so with that, that's the basic reactor. And I'm going to put a candle or a torch on there so that we doesn't turn it into a spawner inadvertently. So let's go ahead and plunk down our fission controller. And I think, yeah, all right. So it's all formed up, and you can tell it's formed up because it's you know, yellow or whatever. So if we break one, you can see the casing is incomplete, but we're going to have that broken because we've got to put everything in. So now we put the reactor cells in, and there's like, you know, there's a whole packing strategy here. If you have the reactor cells like right next to each other, certain things happen. If you have them not right next to each other, other things happen. So what we want to do, I think, is for these two, and you know, this might not be enough. We might have to make a lot more. Let's see how our thorium. All right, so we got enough for one, which is what we need. So let's just come over here to the crafting table and turn this into an actual pellet of fuel. And so one of the things that you have to do is you sort of have to try different permutations here. So we're gonna to understand the heat profile. So we did that. All right, so this is going to generate, as it's set up right now, 120 RF per tick, which isn't very much, although it will do it over 120 minutes of real world stuff. So, you know, for a lot of sessions, you'll run one pellet for your entire gaming session. It will generate 36 heat per tick, which is not very much. We can easily offset that. So let's see if we can push this a little bit more. If we put reactor, these cells side by side, and then see what happens. And you're discovering this with me. I just know that. Right, so that doubled our RF per tick, and it tripled or more our heat per tick. But it's still manageable. So I think what we're going to do is I think I want to go ahead and get 2 more of those, 2 more reactor cells. So let's do that. Reactor cells. Actually, let's do 4 more. Looks like we've got everything we need. Don't know if we'll have power, but we'll try. Glass is ferroburn, oh geez, this is going to take a little bit. All right. So the other thing that we need to look at is cooling. So we're already up to, let's see, what were we up to with our heat? 108 per tick. So if we look at coolers, a water cooler does 60 heat per, sorry, this keyboard's different. 60 heat per tick. Redstone does 90. You know, glowstone does 130, but it has to touch 2 moderator blocks. Lapis does 120. So, you know, realistically, we can probably do a couple of lapis, and that would offset this heat partic. And if the heat partic exceeds, you know, once your heat builds up when it's running, you'll wind up, if it overheats, it'll blow up. And, you know, this is in our workshop, and we would really like that not to happen. So let's get the rest of our fuel here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get those reactor cells. Let's see, they're about halfway done at this point. So I'm going to cut, and I'm going to come back once those reactor cells are ready, and then we'll go back into it. Okay, I now have the rest of the reactor cells. So let's go ahead and come over here and take a look again. I know there's a door I can put on here, and maybe I need to look at making that. So if we put 4 of them like that, actually let's do this. Let's do 3 of them side by side. And then, you know, what would happen if we did 3 more? Something like that. We can make it more aesthetic later. So that would generate 840 RF a tick, which is much more in the neighborhood we want. 432 heat per tick. So if we come back to coolants or coolers, 430 heat per tick. So 120. If we had 4 lapis coolers, I think that would do the trick. We don't have active coolers yet. I mean, so I think I'm going to try the lapis coolers. They have 1 reactor cell and 1 reactor casing. Believe we can do that. And that should, and 4 of those, which we have 4 empty coolers, should do the trick. And I think I have enough lapis. Ooh, maybe not. So I'm going to need 8 lapis blocks. I don't have enough lapis. Okay. Alternate plan. Let's see. We don't have that. So water coolers, we'd need 8 of those, which might be doable. It's just a bucket of water. Quartz, we don't have moderator blocks. So redstone, so a block of red, we could do redstone. So it has to touch 1 reactor cell. That gives us 90. We're going to need 4 of those, 5 of those to offset that heat. So, well, I mean, the other part of this is that you can run it without cooling it. You just have to make sure you shut the thing off before it blows up. But I think we'll do the redstone coolers. So let's do that real quick. We need redstone blocks. My mouse is acting up. And then I think these. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's go with that. And let's see. So let's set these up as pillars along the back, I think. So we'll put these guys up the middle. Put these here, pull these down. And I know there's a whole art to making these things, but I'm trying to play sort of as if I had never done, or well, I haven't, trying to just play sort of as someone who's never tried this before. So, okay, we're still producing positive heat here. We've got 360 right now. Let's see, it says must touch at least 1 reactor cell. So they're all touching 1. 4 times 90 is 360. Oh, I need 5, right. Math is hard. Okay, so let's see. I think I've got the recipe for a cooler. Let's do another one. It's going to take a little bit. Oh. Let's see here. What's it going to make? Ferroboron. Well, this won't take too long. This won't take too long. Okay, so the other thing that you have to do to make this all go is you need a switch, which I know I've got one around here somewhere. There we go. So let's go ahead and put down that right next to that. And then I'm going to put the switch right there. And it's off right now. And I mean, we could run this right this second, right? So, because it's just going to generate some heat. So you can already see that's filling up pretty good, right? We're generating 840 RF a tick. Our heat is climbing. And the thing is you just need to shut it off before it, you know, overheats. If you don't have a net negative heating factor. You can also hear stuff clicking there, but so I think probably one of the things that we want to do is build this into our power grid as well. But I mean, it's pretty simple other than having to build a ton of machines. Wow, that's really cranking. All right, let's see where this coolant is because it's kind of freaking me out. Cool. Oh, we got two. So yeah, let's make one more because that's what we know we need. A lot of trial and error into this thing. So we'll put that guy there. Let's put these blocks back. I really need to make a door or something. All right, so we're now at a negative heat factor, which means that while this is, we can run this until it runs out of fuel. And I don't know how long it's going to run. Oh, 19 minutes. So because we put 4 cells in there, 120 divided by 4, you get about 20 minutes. Is that right? Is that right? I think that, yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's because there's a multiplier. I bet that's what it is. So this will last about 19 minutes, which means that if we pull out our calculator, let's see here. So 19 minutes at 80 RF per tick. So 19 times, 19 times, wait, what is going on there? 19 times 20 ticks per second times 60 seconds. So it's 22,000 ticks times 840 RF gives us 19 million RF off of one pellet, which is pretty darn good. And thorium is just, it's very easy to process. That you just find it in the world. I think this is thorium. Is that thorium? Yeah, so it's just a blackish one. And I just ran it through a normal pulverizer, and then you have to run it through an isotope separator. So very cool. We were now getting 840 RF a tick. We don't have to worry about it cooling. It's just going to shut down once it runs out of fuel. Some redstone and a whole lot of crafting, and we have a NuclearCraft reactor. Now the thing about these is that, so let's go look at that TBU fuel again. Once this is done, what's going to happen is it's going to generate depleted TBU, okay? Not the oxide, this one. Now, what I don't know yet is what you do with that, because I think you probably reprocess that. So these are kind of, I mean, I don't know if it's the right technical term, but these are kind of breeder reactors, right? The idea is that you work your way up the sort of power chain by building smaller reactors that sort of create more and more powerful isotopes that you can then burn. So once we have a depleted fuel, we can put that apparently into a fuel reprocessor, and that gives us uranium-233, 235, neptunium, and neptunium. So now the question is what do we do with those? We can also infuse it with oxygen. I don't know why you'd want to do that. And you can also melt it. What could you do if you melted it? So let's see. Chemical reactor, you can turn it into depleted TBU. Don't know what you do with that either. Ah, but you can turn it into molten uranium. You can molten forms with a centrifuge. So maybe what we want to do is melt it, turn it into... that just seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, I don't know. So, okay, so if we put that into the, let's see, the fuel reprocessor, so that's one thing we could build. That would then give us uranium-233. So what can we do with that? So uranium-233, if we got 9 of those, what could we do with those? Well, that's 238. Oh, so if you have 233 and 238, you can get HEU or LEU. So one's... so the difference is the amount of 233 to 238. So you can have one uranium-233 and the rest is 238, or you can have 4 233s and 4. And I'm guessing this one's probably a higher... Right, so that burns for 60 minutes at 500 RF, 360 heat per tick. This one burns 53 minutes, wow, for a fifth the time, or a fifth the RF per tick, but also a lot less fuel. So the interesting thing is that while this is running, when it's done, we'll actually be able to take that fuel, reprocess it. We'll get higher end stuff, but we'll also be able to burn it again, basically, with some reprocessing. So we could sort of, but the problem here is that this reactor is designed for this fuel right now, the TBUs. So we actually have to change the cooling if we're going to run different fuels in it. And that's why, you know, I believe that over time, the intent is you get a bunch of reactors and they all feed into each other and generate different byproducts, and you use that. In the meantime, we've generated 6 million RF while I've been sitting here yammering. We've burned through a part of it. And I think we've got one more fuel pellet that we can use. So I'm just going to drop this in here and make the last one. And then I'll put this in the reactor as well. But we can, you know, turn this off. And I believe that there's ways you can do redstone and stuff with this, which is something I'm going to look at in the future. But the next step is to tie this into my power grid, and then when I start doing a lot of auto crafting, I can use that. And that way this system doesn't get so overtaxed, although it is now finally building up more. So this has just been the first step in a NuclearCraft world, and I'll be back to sort of show you how things develop. But it's simple, but it's a fun mod. I think it's fun because of the complexity and because of trying to figure out what you want to do and how to sort of make it generate as much RF as you can. But I mean, you know, like I said, this is pretty simple to get set up. I think I don't know, I've got 37 thorium right now. So I mean, it's not going to last forever. You figure you get 60 something, 70 something out of that. So it's not a ton. So we definitely need to get into fuel reprocessing. Otherwise, we just are going to pound through it really quick. So that's the start. And, you know, I will sort of keep you all in the loop as I continue to develop these. But for now, that's about it. And hope you have a good evening and good luck if you get into NuclearCraft. Thanks. Bye.